Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, we've got an unboxing to do. Yeah. Here is a mystery movie artwork canvas from, yes, you know him, you love him. In time-honoured tradition, Steve 007 Smith, a great friend of mine and a super channel contributor, has sent another bit of wall canvas movie artwork to bedeck the halls and walls of Kilt Mansion. You see, all the way around. He sent hundreds of these things. And long may it continue, because I loves them, I does. Now, most of you guys know that there's a routine that happens here. Steve will send me some little coded clues as to what might be in there. And then the thing arrives and I do a video where I pontificate and speculate and hypothesize about what it might be. And 95% of the time, give or take, I'm correct. Not want to blow my own trumpet, but you know, hey, it's a trumpet worth blowing. And even the ones where I kind of got it wrong, in the run-up, sort of like the runners-up, and I also thought of this, and this. Like, whatever it is, if I come up with the wrong idea, I've still mentioned that title in the little list of runners-up. So, it was Halloween yesterday, Halloween 2023. And I woke up to a message off Steve saying, well, basically, I'll tell you what it is, because this was the clues. Normally he gives quite cryptic, or sometimes in the way my mind works, kind of obvious clues, and I always tell you what they were and how my detective sleuthing has arrived at a certain conclusion. But this time it wasn't. They're not really clues. I'll tell you what he said. I wrote it down. It was literally dark nights, storms, full moon. This must mean a big hairy canvas coming to the Kilt Mansion today, which was yesterday. Halloween. Now, two things massively leapt out there, and they will do to you, of course. Full moon and big hairy. Yeah. Now, if you watch this channel regularly, you know my favourite monster of all time is the werewolf, the Wolfman. And I have literally talked about these movies many, many times, reviewed many werewolf movies, and I've gone on about the Wolfman, Lon Chaney Jr., and the Universal monster mashups with him featured in there prevalently many, many times. I've discussed a lot of werewolf movies, and he has sent me a lot of werewolf canvases. For The Wolfman from 1941, directed by George Wagner. And there's about 3 canvases which he sent. There's one right behind me right now. Look at that. And also for one of the sequels, Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which is awesome. He sent canvases for American Werewolf in London, for Wolfen, and Curse of the Werewolf, Hammer's one and only actual feature film venture into lycanthropy, directed by Terence Fisher, and starring Oliver Reed as Leon, the poor stricken werewolf. And but straight away I thought, look, I know what this is. I know it can only be one thing. Now, this is the crazy scenario we're in right now. As you're watching me, that box is unopened, and I'm going to open it here and now. But hey, but you already know what it is, because it's in the title of the video. And I explained in the previous video why I do that now. Instead of doing like a mystery unboxing number 75, for example, it gets too repetitive. So I'd rather, because people are just going to ignore that. So I thought, well, I'll put in the title of what it is once I've opened it and I know what it is. Because then people will know it's going to be a video about that particular movie. But you get this little sort of mystery preamble first. So, in other words, whatever the title on this video is, it'll be what's in that box. But what I might say right now might be something different. Although you're all looking around at the set decoration right now, and you're seeing, yes, I've just realised I've already kind of staked my claim as to what it might be. Anyway, so I'm not going to waste too much time belabouring the point, because I'm utterly 100% convinced it's a werewolf movie, and I think it is one of the big three from the big werewolf year, which was 1981. American Werewolf came out then, Wolfen came out then, both of which are some of my favourite movies of all time. Now, Wolfen is not a werewolf movie, although it has connections, very strong connections to the genre, and it is fabulous. And he sent me something to do with that already, so it can't be that. And he sends American Werewolf as well, which is right there. You can see that. The Kessler Wolf there, the big transformation. But I think it's the Howling. I've said it right away, it's the Howling. Joe Dante's 1981 absolute werewolf classic. It's a sort of black comedy, a satire in many ways. American Werewolf is a funny movie. It's a laugh out loud movie with a bit of slapstick in it as well, a lot of sight gags and very clever banter. Now, Joe Dante's movie The Howling isn't quite the same style. It's a bit more, it's more sophisticated. It's a bit more, I don't know, it's very referential to the genre itself. But if I'm right, we'll talk more about that. Obviously, if I'm wrong, I'll have to suddenly think of something else to talk about. But it's worth noting that because I've now slept on this, well, not literally slept on it, but because it arrived yesterday on Halloween, but I was busy doing lots and lots of things, which the previous video did tell you about. So, and as is often the case, if I don't open it on the same day, I will have a tortured sleep where my imagination begins to pluck other candidates out of the ether. It could be this, it could be that. And to be fair, I have done that again. And even though I'm right really with the Howling. That's what I'm going with. But I'm playing the soundtrack. What's his name? Mark Thomas's soundtrack for Neil Marshall's Dog Soldiers. Where is the sequel to Dog Soldiers? How many more years are we going to have this being promised for? I don't know. But Dog Soldiers is awesome. And I wrote down, what are the other possibilities? Because I've talked about all these movies, some of which I've reviewed in depth as well. Dog Soldiers, The Company of Wolves, Silver Bullet, The Beast Must Die, from Amicus, Late Phases, also known as Night of the Werewolf or something like that in the UK, but Late Phases is fantastic. I did a massive review of that. It's still a film that a lot of even werewolf fans are not massively aware of, but I've done my bit to try and put that movie out there. It's very, very clever, and I love that movie. So it could be any one of those as well, but I'm not doing that. I know Steve, and Steve knows me, and I've talked about The Howling many, many times on the channel. I always big up the transformation. Yeah, we talk about Rick Baker's effects for David Norton in American Werewolf for John Landis, and the transformation in the brightly lit room from naked adult male to huge hairy hellhound. And it is outstanding, Oscar winning in fact. But as I've always said, and I've always said this, I stand by it, American Werewolf is a great big hellhound. He is just a bloody big dog. He even gets described as there's a mad dog, in Leicester Square, Piccadilly Circus, some chaos involving a mad dog on the loose. That's what he is. I like my werewolves to be on 2 feet, to stand tall and to have big snouts and be really muscular and really intimidating. And the ones in The Howling, designed and executed by Rob Bottin, who was trained by Rick Baker on that film. A story which, if I'm right, I will tell you it again. I've told it a million times over, but I never get tired of telling that story. But Steve and everybody else, cheers for what we're about to receive. There's many more werewolf movies. Of course there is. There's many, many more. And I've gone on about, there's another one called Attack of the Werewolves, a Spanish werewolf movie, which is, again, an action horror comedy, but it's brilliant. and I love it to bits, and I did cover it in depth. So there's a few other candidates there, but folks, here we go. We have the canvas inside here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the Pino Donaggio's very elegant and yet very frightening score for the Howling. I'm going to put that on now. And if I'm wrong, hopefully I've got the score for whatever the movie is. I've got up scores for all those ones, by the way. So, and that's if it's a werewolf movie. But you don't say dark night, storms, full moon, and a big hairy canvas, do you? Unless you're talking about Yeti. Oh no. Or is it Cujo? That's very hairy. Not a good film, no. Not a good book either. I'm not a fan of Cujo, to be honest. Right, now, what is it? You'd think by now I'd have these things sorted out. You know. Here we go. Right. Okay, folks. The trusty ski and do, which, to be honest, I don't think I need it. I've been doing this for so long now, and I keep using this, and all you got to do is avoid the big blatey stingers like that. You can just pull this thing up, and what'll happen is, on the inside there, the canvas will be cellophaned in with its, you won't be able to see it, it's sitting on a huge piece of cardboard, but face down, and the cellophane goes all the way around it. So you can't see what the canvas is. Even when I open this, I still won't know. And what I'll do is I'll slip the cellophane and I'll rise it up in front of you guys. And it could be portrait, it could be landscape. And either way, it could be upside down. But I won't know, but you will. And in fact, I think most times I do this, it tends to be upside down. But anyway, see what happens. Folks, I'm going with The Howling from 1981, directed by Joe Dante, and starring Dee Wallace and her then husband, Christopher Stone. She became known as Dee Wallace Stone from Hills of Eyes and E.T. and many, many other movies. And Patrick McNee as well. Belinda Bolaski, Dennis Duggan, Robert Picardo. Oh God, I said it's easy to lift these things. Right. We're popped. And, yep, okay. We're all sealed in. So, the thing is, I love this. I don't know if you guys do, but I love the suspense of this, because even if I'm wrong, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I know and trust Steve. This is going to be fantastic artwork. Although it may actually be, a huge picture of me in the nude. Although, where he got that from, God only knows. But I've been around a bit, But he has sent one. He sent, I showed it in the previous video. It was a canvas of a mock-up movie called Werewolf on the Wirral. And the main image is me. My face, this fizzog here, but with the makeup, the ears and the fur and the fangs and the underbite of Oliver Reed in the makeup from Curse the Werewolf from Hammer. And it's brilliant, brilliant. Cheers, y'all. See, I get a bit nervous now, because if I'm wrong, then I've got to suddenly rethink everything. Ski and Do comes in handy now because it slits the cellophane. Okay, we ready? I didn't slip that very well at all. It's still, Gary Brandon's original novel is here, The Howling, and his sequel as well. And there's the original poster artwork. And you've got, there's the Scream Blu-ray from America with their rather horrible artwork. Oh, sweet Jesus. If it's that, I could learn to love it. I could learn to love it. But the actual original poster artwork is that rather bizarre image there of the big, almost like metal-like claws coming through, and just a woman's face peering through the rips in whatever material that is, screaming. And it's an iconic image as well. But knowing Steve, he's probably done something completely different. Because Steve, I know I'm dragging this out, but literally dragging it out in a moment. Steve likes to embellish. He takes imagery, maybe the original poster, and he might throw something different in there, change something here and there, and they are beautiful works of art. And the beauty of canvases, they're on little hardwood frames, plywood frames, and they're so light, and you just knock there's tacks in every single wall, all over the place. So I can just take, oh, that one's been there for a while, I'll take that down, put another one on, and you can move stuff around all the time. Okay. If it's upside down and back to front, I do apologise, folks. But I'm going with the Howling. Oh. That was a terrible howl. It is the Howling! You know what? I really wasn't sure then. I couldn't tell what that was. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at the... Okay, folks. Yeah, you can look at it. Look. The Howling. In case you were doubting me there. Look how colourful that is. You're shot through with sort of turquoisey colours here. And you've got this sort of really fiery, feral... See, these wolves, these are my favourite werewolves. They genuinely are, because they're bloody huge, with these massive pointy ears on them. And really, the transformation, Robert Picardo's transformation as Eddie Quist, when he becomes the werewolf, and the first time we actually see him transform in front of a terrified Dee Wallace, who stands there for all of 3.5 minutes whilst the transformation takes place, instead of running away. But don't worry, she's got a big bottle of hydrochloric acid hidden behind her, which she throws in his face. But let's see what we got here. Well, that is the Eddie Quist, big, huge, 7 foot tall werewolf. That's him in his second transformation. Because I said she throws the hydrochloric acid over him, and then she gets away, and he's all like, and he's sizzling, and there's all fumes and steam coming off him. And then her friend's fella, because he's killed her friend already in full werewolf form, and that's the lovely Belinda Balaski, who's a friend of mine on Facebook, who hasn't replied over the last few years. I've asked her to talk about this movie. And Piranha as well, another film that she's in for Joe Dante. And she hasn't replied to me. I don't blame her, you know. But so her fella, played by Dennis Duggan, comes in, and his name's Christopher Halloran. He comes in, and he's got a hunting rifle. He's got I think it's a Parker Hale hunting rifle. And he's got silver bullets, 3006 silver bullets, which they get from Dick Miller, the great Dick Miller, in all Joe Dante's movies. He's in 1,000,001 films. He's the guy that sells the guns to the Terminator, the T-800 in the Terminator. Hey, you can't do that. Wrong. Gets blown away. And he runs like a sort of occult artifact, boutique bookshop sort of thing. And they're learning all about werewolves, and Dennis Duggan goes in there and picks up, what are these? Oh, they're 3006 hollow point silver bullets. You know, the guy ordered them, I got them made. He never came back, and he takes them and goes out to the werewolf colony, which all these lycanthropes are living at, and discovers that that Belinda Balaski, his girlfriend's been slain by that bastard there, who's known as the Mauler, He's a rapist and a mutilator of women, and he's anyway. But we'll talk more about that. But he meets him, and the guy's all like he's half melted, down one side. But this guy's taking the piss out of Dennis Duggan, and he's just like, he's already snatched the gun off him, and he's going like, there's a tape recording of the slaying of Belinda Balaski, and which is a horrible moment anyway, but beautifully shot and so bizarre. This is still part of the score. This is the beach barbecue going on, and at the colony, which is filmed. The whole thing's filmed in the same area as where it's Inverness, where John Carpenter filmed The Fog. Very similar beaches and coves and stuff like, and forested areas. But anyway, so he's playing a tape recording of Belinda Balaski being slain, and he's got the guy's gun, and he's just going like, look, here, bright boy, you take the gun, call it a gift. Because Patrick McNee, who's in charge of the colony for all these repressed people who've got psychological problems, they're all werewolves, folks. They're all werewolves, and it's a big colony of the werewolves living together, and he's trying to educate them to not kill everybody under the full moon. Just learn to live with the gift, as he calls it, the gift. And and he's got like, take your gun back, call it a gift. Come on, bright boy. Come on, shoot me here, shoot me, bright boy. And he starts transforming again, huffing and puffing and blowing his chest out and all that, and he's getting taller again, like. But Dennis Duggan has got silver bullets in that rifle. Bang! Gets him in the throat, and then shoots him again, and down goes Eddie Quist, one of the most terrifying and haunting of werewolves in cinema. Oh, that's him, and that's his half-melted face there for his second transformation. What else have we got here? We have a great big church organ. Pino Donaggio managed to research and find a huge big church organ to play on this soundtrack. Oh, we've got other shadowy werewolves here, which you do get that. Werewolf there, another werewolf there. You've got. That's his brother. That's T.C. Quist, who attacks Belinda Balaski earlier on, and she runs to a cabin in the woods. You're never safe in a cabin in the woods, are you? People learn nothing. And she gets in there, and he lays siege to it. It's a fucking terrifying scene. And then she managed to get out of a window where this big pause coming down, and she gets into like a little coal bunker. And he shreds the door and comes in, but she's found a little hatchet, and she hacks off his hand, and this big werewolf paw, a bit like that one there, is writhing in the straw on the floor, and it turns over and begins to transform into a human hand. That looks really bad what I'm doing there, doesn't it? But but I'm enjoying doing it though. And it folds over and curls around and just becomes a human hand, and then dies. And it's a beautiful shot, like. And in fact, she's realised that the big serial killer known as the Mauler, Eddie Quist, she finds similar artwork with these things, the happy smiley faces. My daughter did that when she was about 4 years old. And I thought, that's like Eddie's call sign from the Howling. How have you seen that? It's just a happy smiley face. But that's one of his calling cards. And she finds this shack, and it's got all the artwork that he's done. In other words, Eddie Quist is part of the colony. Oh my God, no. But then she gets pursued and attacked through the forest, and then obviously in this cabin. Now, I think Joe Dante had looked at George Miller's original Mad Max 1979, because Joanna Samuels, who plays Max's wife, when she's pursued by the toe cutter and his gang, it's a very similar sequence of her running through the trees, and it's also a severed hand in Mad Max as well, because if you all you petrol heads out there will know what I'm talking about. Condolini has a chain, and he he swings it at her car. She's driving away with their kid, Max's little baby boy, the Sprog. And but as the car speeds away, he does a cartwheel through the air, and they find horribly that his hand has been severed in the chain. When they get caught later on, well, Joanna Samuels, Max's wife, and the granny, who was in prisoner cell block H, and all the gang find her there. And toe cutter Hugh Keysburn says, like, that is Condolini, and Condolini wants his hand back. It's just brilliant. But if you look at the Howling, that scene of her being pursued through the trees up from a beach is very, very similar to Joanna Samuels being pursued through the woods. Just saying. What else have we got here? So yeah, that's T.C. Quist there. So he's had his hand severed, but he's not dead. So in the big finale, he has this. He leers in towards, well, Dee Wallace and the now heroic Dennis Duggan as Chris Halloran, and T.C. Quist comes out with, like, he's got this, his hand's gone, there's a little nub of bone at the wrist, and he goes like, look what that bitch did to me, and he's like, that is that scene there. Can you see this? Yeah, you can. Can you see it, folks? Can you see? Look there. There is the stump. He has got a severed stump there. That's brilliant. Oh, that's the happy smiley faces there as well. Oh my god. Another werewolf over here. With the big burning barn at the end where they seal the werewolves in. And you've got all these, look at that's brilliant. You can see this. So, I don't know how it looks to you guys with the ring light now, but these bits of white paper, well, they're sketches which Eddie Quist had done of various werewolf faces in transformation, and that's what they find in his apartment in the city, and then also they find in the cabin in the woods, so they know that he's connected. It's him again. And oh my god, you can see all the faces of the different werewolf transformations. That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. You have a shot over here. What's this? Well, there's Dee Wallace Stone. That's Karen White, her name is, and she's a TV journalist who, at the start of the movie, we're thrust right into this sort of what you call them, a sting operation, where she's going to go and meet Eddie Quist, the killer, the mauler. Is it Mangler or Mauler? God, I can't remember now. And so she's out through the seedy parts of town, and she's going to pick up the phone, and he'll call her from little kiosks and all that. But the LA police are still meant to be looking after her. But the TV station, including her husband, are like, really, they're watching. This is wrong. Shouldn't be doing this. And she gets lured to a porno theatre. Again, American Werewolf has that as well. But she gets lured in there and into like they put the coin in the slot and watch a seedy porno movie of horribly of a girl being bound and raped and presumably would be murdered as well. And it's Eddie Quist is playing it for her, and he begins to transform behind her. Now she's Karen White, this TV journalist, so he's got a fascination for her, and it's a really shocking, horrible sequence. And he begins to snarl and hiss, but you can't quite see what's happening because the projector's behind him, so he's all backlit. If you look, I don't know if you can see that there. That's Gary Brandner's novel sequel to his original novel, The Howling, which is different from the movie. And that's the sequel which has got nothing to do with the Howling movie or any of the Howling movie sequels, which we're really not going to talk too much about any of those. But if you look there with the backlight, that's exactly what you see of Eddie Quist in that sequence. And she starts screaming, and he's definitely transforming. But two coppers, one a rookie and one an experienced copper, get in there, and they hear all this going on, and they see that on the outside of the peep show door. And they pump bullets through the door, and they kill Eddie Quist. They weren't using silver bullets, though, were they? So Eddie Quist's body manages to get up and get out of the morgue, after scratching away all the metal container that it's in and go back on the rampage again. One of those coppers, by the way, the older experienced copper, is played by Kenneth Tobey. The great Kenneth Tobey from The Thing from Another World, which I do believe is up there. Again, courtesy of Steve W. Smith. That's the classic 1951 original version of John W. Campbell's novella, Who Goes There, which of course became John Carpenter's The Thing. Excuse me, I've still got this cold. John Carpenter's The Thing is the actual proper version, adaptation of the original novella, whereas Christian Nyby and Howard Hawks made that movie, and it doesn't have a lot of similarity at all. But Kenneth Tobey plays US Air Force Captain Pat Hendry, who's the hero, and he's fucking awesome. So Joe Dante, the maker of this, always packs in cameos of stars from earlier movies and has lots of in-jokes and references there, which we'll go on to. So, after that distressing event, Karen White meets Dr. Wagner, Patrick McNee, John Steed from the Avengers, and James Bond's mate from Octopussy. And is it Octopussy? No, it's A View to a Kill, isn't it? Oh, getting confused now, aren't I? I'm throwing too many elements into this. But that's what I do. Speaking of elements being thrown into something, I'm just going to throw some of this element into this. And she discusses with him about her traumas and all that. He said, look, what I recommend is you go to my retreat, the colony. You'll love it. Everyone's dead friendly there. They're all fucking werewolves there. But she goes out there with her husband, who is her Dee Wallace's real life husband, Christopher Stone. Sadly, he died in, I think, 2015. No. I think it was 1995, something like that. I think they were married for about 15 years. But he's been watching at the TV station, so he's seen all this and like, get the cops out there now, get her out of there, save her. And so they go out into the woods, and they've got a cabin out there, one of these chalets. But they keep hearing howling in the woods, and he will go out, stupidly venture out, and he'll meet another member of the Quist family, Marcia Quist, played by Elizabeth Brooks. And she's a voluptuous, feral Caroline Munro alike. And yeah, they get it on. They make the beast with two backs. And it's sort of derided now. But in a film full of profoundly effective prosthetic, animatronic, and latex and air bladder effects, you've got animation in there. Literally, you've got stop motion animation, and you've got actual genuine animation by a fire in the woods, and they're shagging the arses off each other. And she puts the bite on him, and she's scratching him, and they both become werewolves. They become animated, backlit by this blaze of a fire, and it's an amazing sequence. And actually, I'm surprised it's not on this, because unless it is, I just can't see it, because there's quite a lot of stuff going on here. You've got a full moon up here as well. But so anyway, back to this point. There's Dee Wallace there, and that. In this film, you have two guys with guns, because all the people from the colony invite her husband to go out hunting with them, and he's out there, and this is where he keeps meeting Marcia Quist and all that, who's putting the feels on him and all that kind of stuff, making it obvious that she wants him. And but I'm trying to see, is that, I can't quite tell, I'm looking at the jacket that he's wearing, because he wears like a sleeveless sort of what do you call them? Like I don't know, a gilet. That's it. And a hunting thing, like And I think that's her husband there. But at the end of the movie, you will have Dennis Duggan, who's lost his bird, and she's lost her fella because he ends up killing. Well, Dennis Duggan ends up killing her husband, Bill, and they'll end up fighting the werewolves together. And he's got silver bullets, so even though they get attacked, they manage to lock a load of werewolves into the big barn and set it ablaze like that. And you see all these werewolves getting flambéed and all that. But they get into a cop car. Slim Pickens, the great Slim Pickens, is in there as the sheriff, the local sheriff. But he's a fucking werewolf too. But and they get into the cop car. The werewolves all converge on it, and they shoot a couple. Of course, one of them's actually her husband, and they get away. But her husband's put the bite on Karen. So you know where I'm going with this. The end of the movie is it's let down only by one thing. She wants to tell the world, look, werewolves are real, and she wants it to be broadcast globally from their TV station. So they do it, and she's not reading off the actual cue. She's the proper news. She's a news reporter, and she's not reading off that. And they're all going, what script is that? What's she reading here? And then she begins to transform live on TV, and Dennis Duggan is there, knowing I've got to kill her. So he shoots her live on TV with a silver bullet. But everyone who's watching it is just going like, look, it's amazing what they can do with special effects these days. I'm like, kids, what are you watching there? Oh, it's the news. The news? Yeah, the news lady just turned into a werewolf and they shot her. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. But it's clever. It's a satire. It's a biting satire, and about commercialism of news and media expediency, and how the media, no one can trust it. Even back then in 1981, no one could trust the media, the news outlets, because it's just fake. It's a big scam. It's fake news, as you call it now. It's a gimmick. It's a scam. But it's brilliant. So I'm not sure if that is depicting, because they both got their backs to us. It's clearly Karen D. Wallace, but I'm not sure if that's her husband. I think it is because of this sleeve, this number he's got on here. Yeah, that's her husband there. Although it kind of perhaps would make more sense to have had Dennis Duggan. I don't know. I don't know. It's still fucking awesome, isn't it? Look at that face. Look at him. I love the way that, you don't see him like that. Lit up orange like that, but I do love that effect because that's going to be super vivid on the wall. That it's got a very sort of comic book allure to it, hasn't it? I don't know, maybe the further away you can see that severed stump a bit better. Look what that bitch did to me. Yeah, and you got plenty of werewolves as well. It's great. It's fucking awesome, Steve. I love it. We've got the cast list down here, of course, and it's worth talking about the in-jokes in this movie. Not only have you got Dick Miller in there, but all the names of the main characters are all the names of directors of werewolf movies. So Belinda Bolaski plays, her name's Terry Fisher, Terence Fisher, who directed Hammer's Curse of the Werewolf. Patrick Macnee is playing Dr. George Wagner, who directed the 1941 The Wolfman, of course. You have Earl Kenton, who's this old cantankerous git in the colony, who seemingly wants to kill himself. He's an old werewolf and he wants to live by the old ways. This is all wrong, living off cattle. This is not wild. This is not the way we're meant to be. And he always throws himself into a fire, to end it all. He's played by John Carradine, and his name is Earl Kenton. John Carradine was in The House of Frankenstein and The House of Dracula, playing Dracula on those two occasions. And The Wolfman was in both those movies, Lon Chaney Jr. But both those films were directed by, you guessed it, Earl Kenton. Bill, Karen's husband, Dee Wallace's real life husband. And in the movie, it's kind of weird because her name is Karen White and his name is Bill. Oh God, what is it? Bill, write this down. Bill Neal, as in Roy William Neal, who directed Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. So they're all part of this. You've got Kevin McCarthy in it as well. Kevin McCarthy, who I talked about only recently because I reviewed Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 Phil Kaufman version. Big epic review, 2.5 hours long that was. What a slog that was. I enjoyed it, but I drank half a bottle of this. And Kevin McCarthy plays a cameo in that movie because he's the star of the original 1956 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. He plays the hero in that. And he's also in several other Joe Dante movies. Notably, he's in Twilight Zone, the Joe Dante directed episode of Twilight Zone. And he's in other stuff as well. But he's the TV head producer. And he's like, at the end of it, like, oh my God, when Karen White's, you know, not reading from the script and then turning into the cutest werewolf you've ever seen. It's a werepussy cat. Yeah. Shouldn't have put a gap there, should I? And she's got little whiskers and a little puffy face and little angel sort of sweet, ooh, look at you and your gorgeous little eyes, and then still gets shot. But it's the cute, have you seen the savage, nasty, brutish, 8 foot tall, motherfucking bastard werewolves in this? And then she turns into that? You're like, what? And it is a kind of, that's why it's, oh, come on. But you've got Kevin McCarthy, and he's playing, oh shit. What did I just say what his name was playing? Freddie Francis. He's playing Freddie Francis. Freddie Francis directed Legend of the Werewolf for Amicus. And he was also a great director for Hammer as well. But, so he's Freddie Francis. And at the end of it, when he's transforming to werewolf, he's going like, it's just like, oh, the studio's shot to hell now. That's it, the ratings are going to go down. I'm out of a job. And it's just, what can happen next? It's kind of like a piss take on Network, of course, the famous film Network, where, you know, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. You know the film I'm talking about. A controversial, shocking conclusion. But it's a parody of that in many ways. So all the names of characters in this are all the names of genuine werewolf directors. You've got another guy, Sam Newfield. Now, he did a film with George Zucco back in the early 40s called The Mad Monster, where it's a mad scientist who's been wronged, and he gets his gullible victim and pumps a potion into him, which turns him into, yeah, you guessed it, a wolf man. It's not a very good movie, to be honest, but all the names are all references to other werewolf movies, and it's genius. American Wolf did it as well. They did a lot of they're watching the Wolfman on TV, and they talk about the Wolfman and Lon Chaney Jr. and Universal Studios and all that. They talk about all this. Cheers, y'all. But let's get on to the transformation. I've said innumerable times, even in this video already, I actually prefer this transformation to the one in American Werewolf. Sacrilege, how could you possibly say that? Well, with ease, because I grew up with these movies, I love these movies. I was around when they first came out, I saw them when they first came out, so I speak with huge lycanthropic experience. And as I've said before, I find the werewolf that stands upright and has a semblance of humanity about it more frightening than something that just turns into like a beast on 4 legs. Because a beast on 4 legs is just an animal. I've lived with dogs, big dogs, all my life. So, you know, they don't particularly frighten me. But something that's got maybe a semblance of a human face, think the Wolfman, who's there somewhere, yeah. Think Oliver Reed as Leon in Curse of the Werewolf. Think David Rintoul in Legend of the Werewolf. Again, the human face is there and he's upright, they're walking, they're wearing clothes. I find that more frightening somehow. Even like Henry Hull as the Werewolf of London in 1934, 35. You know, I find that more frightening than a big, massive, no matter how monstrous it might be, it's still an animal as far as I'm concerned. So these guys, as I say, 7, maybe more feet tall, with huge fucking snouts on them, and huge big pointy ears, and they're big. Now, here we go, the oft-told tale. Rick Baker was doing the effects for this movie. Now, Rick Baker and John Landis were good mates. John Landis had the idea for American Werewolf in London when he was filming. He was scouting locations for Kelly's Heroes, another film I've massively discussed on the channel. And they were in the former Yugoslavia, and they encountered villagers who were burying someone headfirst in the ground at a crossroads. And they were like, this was 1969, and they were like, what the fuck? That was modern times. What are you doing? And they said, well, this guy was a murderer, so we've got to bury him this way, headfirst, and at a crossroads. So if he comes back as a werewolf or a ghoul or a vampire, he's gonna dig out down to China. But if he does come out, he'll be stuck at a crossroads and won't know where to go. Superstitions, folklore. And Landis was like, what? You people believe in this shit even now? In 1969? But it played on his mind. And from that bizarre encounter, he got the idea for an American Werewolf in London about a mythical monster in a modern day setting, and how would people feel about, what, that's just folklore and myth and superstition. But it worked. We all know how brilliantly it worked, and it's a better. I think it's a better film than The Howling, but I love them both equally. Now, so he'd already started making movies with the likes of Schlock, and he had Rick Baker doing the effects on Schlock for the Ape Man, and he said like, look, I've got an idea for a werewolf movie, but I've written the script for it or a treatment for it. You be available. When I get the funds to do this, when someone backs this, you're doing it, okay? And they shook paws on it. And years went by, a long time went by. But of course, John Landis did the Blues Brothers, Animal House, and suddenly, ooh, did you say you wanted to make a werewolf movie? Oh God, go on then, we'll do it. Now, so he gets the funding for it. Right, makes a phone call to Rick Baker. Rick, finally, we're doing my werewolf movie. Come on, get your ass over here now. John, I've just got to tell you something. I'm already working on a werewolf movie. I'm working on The Howling for Joe Dante. I'm doing the effects for it. I'm doing a big revolutionary experimental transformation with new techniques. What? Landis said, if you get your fucking ass over here now, you promised me, fucking ditch that and get over here now. And because they were mates and he had promised, but years had gone by and he thought, it's never going to happen, this. So when Joe Dante offered, dangled that carrot, he was there. He was like, all right, look, okay, I've already trained up a new guy. He'll be able to do the effects. I'll come over to you and I'll do that. Of course, he trained up Rob Bottin, another massive award winner. The Thing, Legend, RoboCop, Total Recall, Rick Baker. Now, Rob Bottin. Score! So we trained him, like all this experimental stuff, stretch your hands and elongating flesh and bones and ligaments and everything pulsing and air bladders and lots of latex and stuff going on. Jaws pushing out, chests getting bigger, everything. Bones stretching. And so we jumped ship. I've got to go and work for John Landis now. And of course, The Howling came out first. The Howling came out before American Werewolf. So you got that transformation and it blew people away. Everyone gets lost in this whole thing now. Oh, American Werewolf. And but The Howling is good too. Oh, but it's nowhere near as good as American Werewolf. And the transformation's not as good either. And American Werewolf is the one. Well, I watch these films a lot. And I still massively prefer the transformation in The Howling, because I find it far more frightening. I find it's more suspenseful, and the results are just more terrifying. That's the bloody werewolf I'm more afraid of. albeit a hulking, muscular dog with fucking big snappy jaws and huge big fangs. Folks, you know how much I love American Werewolf. It's an absolute... I did a commentary for it as well. I love that movie. But The Howling is not as scary, it's not as gory either, but the werewolves just... Eddie Quist, he goes down in history as being one of the most terrifying werewolves ever committed to celluloid. And Robert Picardo plays him, and Rob Bottin went with him again on Legend for Ridley Scott, and he would play the witch in the swamp, Meg Mucklebones. Oh my god, see I'm doing all this with the big fingers and all that. That glove would be ideal. And he's all green and the big pointy nose. And Tom Cruise is going, do you want to eat me, Miss Meg? Oh, indeed I do! It's scary! But Robert Picardo, of course, was in Star Trek and all that, and is a lovely, lovely guy. And he plays one of the most horrible, despicable of characters in The Howling. Eddie Quist, the Mangler, the Mauler. Why is it? I can't remember what he's called. The Mangler? It's the Mangler, isn't it? You have this horrible sort of grainy black and white footage, TV VHS footage of victims found on pavements and sidewalks, and they put a tarpaulin on a sheet over it, but there's blood everywhere, and it's just oh my god, it does look grim, and but of course he's got his fascination with Karen White, his affectation, I think is the word, I don't know, and of course he's been shot several times, but he's come back. And when they've got the thing together in the room and all that, and she's found the body of her friend Belinda Bolaski, Terry Fisher, and who's got her throat ripped out, and she's found that, and she starts screaming because all the howling takes place outside. Hence the film called The Howling. You hear lots of howling on it, and she's like, no, and then suddenly she knocks the gurney with the bodies on, and the sheet comes back, and you go, fucking hell. Because Eddie's moved the body and he's been lying under it, playing Michael Myers tricks on it, and it's a great sequence. I thought you wanted to get to know me, Karen, and I want to get to know you. In fact, I want to give you a piece of my mind. As he plucks his fingers into, a bullet hole in his skull and pulls out. I'm not sure what this is meant to be, and I've said this before. Everyone goes, he pulls a bullet out of his skull. Does it look like a bullet to you? I'll give you a piece of my mind. Some people say it's a bullet. Some people say it's a piece of brain tissue. Because about it, he just regenerates anyway, and it goes and pulls this thing out. It could be a bullet. It could be brain matter. Bit of skull. What does it matter? It's still grisly, and it's still making a hell of a statement, somewhat. And it's a great line as well. But that transformation there. He's proud of what he is. He's showing off, and he bellows and roars, and you see he laughs as well. And he has a big grin on his face, and he throws his hands out like that. He's and he's getting bigger, and it's just that I've always gone on about this scene quite a bit. Yeah, let's go on to the actual transformation, which is here. And listen to it, it's quite a fantastic cue from Pino Donaggio. What you see, the camera also locks on the legs getting higher, and you see the hands going up like that, he's getting taller. But when you think about it, his pants would be like shorts at the end of it, wouldn't they? They'd be little shorts. And I'd love to see a shot of that, to be honest. He's got his little pair of shorts on and great big hairy legs. But anyway, in American Werewolf, it's a guy who's reluctant to do it, didn't believe it was going to happen, and suddenly he's going through the worst nightmare you can imagine, and it's painful. Folks, I'm taking nothing away from what Rebecca does with American Werewolf. It's in a brightly lit room, and I think what stymies it is that John Landis never really wanted to show the full werewolf, and he barely ever does. And he even says to this day, I showed the full Kessler wolf too much. Well, you and me, we're like, no. You watch the outtake footage of Rick Baker and going through the streets of London, Piccadilly Circus, and he's like, on the wheelbarrow and all that. If they'd shown more of that, oh God, it actually looks really, really good. But they cut it out, and Landis would, given the chance now, he'd take more footage of the big wolf out of it. You'd be left with nothing. At least in the Howling, you see the end product, and man, do you see it, like, and it's just fucking amazing. Look at this, it's just so impressive, and everyone goes like, well, you wouldn't just stand there, would you, while it's taking place? You'd run. But yeah, I know, I do get that completely. But also, people do stand frozen with fear, and they watch the most horrible things happening in front of them because they don't know what else to do. Do they run? Fight or flight? They haven't got a clue what to do. And people have stood and witnessed horrible butchery and stood there and just been mesmerised by it. They get shocked. Something that your mind can't comprehend. What do you do? I'd be applauding this guy, but like, make me one of you. I want to be like that because Eddie, well, not a murderous rapist, obviously, but a werewolf. I'm fucking proud of it as well because Eddie's loving it. He's like, he's showing off, he's showboating, especially when like Chris Halloran comes in later on. Come on, bright boy. Bright boy. He actually is a bright boy because don't you know anything? You know, come on, shoot me. Yeah. Well, I've got silver bullets, so yeah. Who's the bright boy now? Bye bye. You know, it's clever though when you think about it. But I'd want to be. He's showing off again. Look what I can do. Look at this. I can transform. It's genuinely terrifying and really, really exciting to watch as well. And the effects are great. Now they're submerged by shadows and murk, and whereas obviously Rick Baker. Now, if you ask me, Rick Baker knew how this was going to pan out. He had the script obviously for the Howling and knew, well, it's going to be a darkened room. Shit, they're going to get their film out before, and I've just trained that young guy to do all these effects, which I've pioneered. Now we've got to get cracking on this movie because all my thunder could be stolen. Then there's no bad blood between people. There's none at all. But you can tell he must have been thinking that. So, and Joe Dante's also thinking like, Landis is making this werewolf movie as well, and they're doing they've took my head honcho supremo special effects guy. Oh shit! Come on, Rob, get it going! Come on, quicker! But turn the lights down even more, you know. And obviously, Merc and Shadow hides a lot of effects work taking place. But you see enough, and just where Picardo just puts his hand up like that, and he changes colour. He goes darker. He goes like a blue and then black, and it's just, what the hell? He puts his hand up like that. He goes, and the claws start sprouting out, and he bleeds as well. That's something I like about it as well. Because obviously, if your bones are stretching, your skin's changing, you're going to bleed. You know, teeth are going to push through, and you're going to bleed. Nails are going to come through. You're going to bleed, and they show that. Whereas in America, if you don't get that, bones stretch, but you don't get any sort of blood taking place. The finite art of transformations, you know. Cheers, you all. But it is a spectacular sequence, and it does deserve an encore. Which you're thinking, when you first watch, you're thinking, "Are we going to go through all this again?" Well, I'm really going to pay attention this time, but no. Bang, bang, down he goes. And you got another guy at the end, you know, like, look, I've got silver bullets in here. As he's trying to rescue Karen. This is Chris Halloran, and he's like, I've got silver bullets here, and one of them just goes like, silver bullets, my ass. And there's suddenly all sprouting fangs, and you do see a lot of werewolves in the barn, all banging on doors when they've set fire to the place and barricading them in. You do see a lot of werewolves in there, and but in earlier sequences they've just got like fangs put in, just a bit of extra dental work taking place. But it's still it's slim pickings. I would love to have seen him transform really properly. But anyway, an unbelievable cast list in this movie, and they're clearly having fun. David Carradine, John Carradine even, who's David Carradine's dad, is having a ball. He gains, at the camera as well. Like, he's this grizzled old redneck werewolf, but also a very distinguished actor, in the whole Hollywood studio system. Elizabeth Brooks is outstanding. Of course, she survives. She's in the big payoff at the end, where she's in like a roadhouse, and they're at this bar, and like, how'd you like your steaks, miss? And you haven't seen her face yet, and they're all watching the TV of Karen White transforming. How'd you like your steaks or your burgers, or whatever? And she just goes, rare. And it's her, and you go, ooh, leathers and bone necklaces. Yeah. We like you, don't we? Yes, we do. The Howling is an amazing movie. Oh god, it's like I've never actually reviewed it. I fucking have, haven't I? I've reviewed it now. God, but it's so good. Donaggio's score is electrifying. It's got a lot of arch tropes to it, but it's got some great dazzling moments. Like let's go back to the start. So you got your wolves howling there, and you get a TV screen that explodes on the visuals on the movie. But you'll hear this dazzling sort of eruption. Somewhere here you'll hear what I was thinking of. Because the screen explodes and you go whoosh, 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 which are reminiscent of that original poster. Four-legged fiends. There's one just here. You're seeing it trundling past there. You might want to go out after a slurp of water first. Well, anyway, look at that. There's a lot going on that, and of course you can see now you've got the whoosh, the slashes across the canvas. You've got all the main players there. You've got lots of werewolfery, and you've got just look at that. Now I've got the masks from the American Werewolf in London. And I've got the original Wolfman mask, and lots of werewolf masks. Trust me. But I've never encountered a mask which is an official one for the Howling. I would love that. Love that. Now, for those in Britain, those UK viewers of a certain age, you may well remember a very strange children's TV show called Pipkins, with Hartley Hare. Hartley Hare on ultra steroids. Hartley Hare was on wires with obviously a puppeteer underneath the desk, and Pipkins was what was it? It was a shop, wasn't it? And you had Tobermory, who was Top Off, who was a monkey. You had Octavia, who was like a goose or something. I can't remember now. But Hartley Hare looked like the big werewolf, but only in miniature. And they were with big buck teeth and these crazy eyes. And it looked like all his fur was knackered. It looked like he'd been jizzed on by a bunch of gypsy maniacs. It was a very unsightly thing, but he was the main character in it, Hartley Hare. And as his paws moved, you see the wires underneath holding his paws up, make him gesticulate. But that's the ultimate though. Look at it. That is nasty. And when the jaws extend, you've seen him. I know I'm comparing the two, but you can't help but do that because they were rival productions and he had a vested interest. Same subject matter, same effects people, but diverged and had to sort of go against each other. Folks, excuse me. I think the dog needs to go out. Come on. You can't deny these four-footed fairy friends of ours, can you? But yeah, that is outstanding. Steve, that is an amazing bit of artwork. I know this is like obviously a fan concept, I presume, but it's got all the elements, you know, and love, apart from obviously Marcia Quist. But it's brilliant. I love it to bits. And like with all the new artwork that he sends, it goes everywhere with me. It goes into every room. So when I'm in the kitchen, it'll be here. When I go in the movie room, it'll be there. When I go down the halls, I'll be marching it down and putting it on at all junctions down the hall and the upper landings. We've got a big house here, so this will be well travelled before you know it. And it'll be in the bedroom as well. Oh yes. The beast with two... No. Well, I was right again. And I was right straight away. Because I literally thought, well, you've done the Wolfman. You've done, which is the biggie, obviously. The progenitor. And you've done the American Werewolf, which is the biggie. And you've done Wolfen as well. And big hammer one. So I thought, oh, what's left? Now I know I mentioned them other ones, and I love Company of Wolves. I love Silver Bullet. I love The Beast Must Die. I love Late Faces, and I love Dog Soldiers. I say Attack of the Werewolves as well, and there are others, of course. There's loads of other werewolf movies, but the Howling was definitely it had to be. It just had to be. So, this is the ending. When Marcia Quist is like in the roadhouse. You've got some stingers here as well. Oh yeah. Channel 6 update news. Our anchor lady's a werewolf. Joe Dante has a ball making movies. And although this film is still... In fact, they watched the Wolfman in this movie as well, and the original George Wagner, Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman. And there's loads of in-jokes and stuff and references, but it doesn't go against the film. Okay. Somebody whispered in my ear then, what about the sequels? What about them? What a load of shit. You had the craziness that was Howling 2. Anyone's sister could be a werewolf. And Christopher Lee was in that. For the love of Christ. What the hell was he thinking? You had murderous dwarves getting impaled on stakes. You had Sybil Danning. Yeah, of course. With the incredible finale end credits where she keeps ripping the top off to expose those rather amazing chesticles. You had hairy breasts in it as well. You had all sorts going on. It was a diabolical mess. It's like Troll, or rather Troll 2. It's like one of those films where it's so fucking awful that it's got a huge fan base to it. You had oh god, Jimmy Nail and Timothy Spall were in it playing truckers or something like that. I can't remember now. But it's god awful. Hello. Something you want? That's a bit distressing, isn't it? What's going on there? Alright, on your way. Carry on. I've got... Because she's a dead ringer for the Thing, the dog in the Thing, and she's just fucking staring at me now. It's kind of unnerving, to be honest. And yet, I know she loves me. So... But yeah, the sequels. How many more did it spawn? Loads. Yeah, you had Howling 3, the marsupials. Oh, fuck Fuck off. What? Do you know what a marsupial is? It keeps its young in a pouch. So you got fucking bouncing kangaroo wallaby werewolves. Oh, what a load of old tosh. And that was set in Australia as well. But you had others, and it just went on and on and on. Ridiculous franchise. Should never have been. Gary Brandner, who wrote the original. By the way, I'm not going to sit here and recommend that book to you. I don't think it's very good. And the sequel, which is called Return of the Howling, isn't very good either. I'm not sure. He may have written another one as well, because obviously they were successful enough off the back of the movies. And certainly Joe Dante saw, and I think it was John Sayles who wrote the script for it, certainly saw potential in that. Well, they do, because a werewolf colony in modern day America. Exactly. There's massive potential there to be exploited. Would the Howling be remade? Would you remake the Howling? Can you remake American Werewolf? They've remade the Wolfman. By the way, the remake of the Wolfman is actually behind me as well. Should we let's see if I can show you. If you look just there, down there somewhere, you can see Benicio del Toro's Wolfman stalking through the woods. And somewhere behind me, you might not be able to see it, but Emily Blunt is hiding behind a tree. And that's the 2010 remake of the Wolfman, which I've discussed a lot as well. And I do love it, but it's also a badly flawed movie. But as a modern made werewolf movie, it's still bloody good. And Rick Baker did the effects. But what did they go and do? They robbed all the prosthetic transformation elements and put in CG. No, and they deleted some fantastic scenes which still exist as deleted scenes on all the various releases. But my God, they should have kept those scenes in. It is gory and it has got some great moments in it, but it looks astonishing. But it is a badly flawed film. It truly is. But I still love it to bits. But anyway, could you remake The Howling? Yeah. Well, the thing is, in this day and age, you can remake anything. Should you? No. No. But does it stop anyone? Could you go back to the original book, which has it's a different the book is different in many, many ways. There is a retreat, but it's a village called Drago or something like. Yes, Dolph Lundgren is the mayor. Drago. Yeah. And there's a bit, I think it's a bit sexier as well in the book. I think, if I remember rightly, it's a long time since I read it. I was only a kid when I read the book, and but I knew it wasn't that good. But The Howling remains a classic, and that artwork is a huge, big, really colourful celebration of some of the great imagery from the movie. Do you know what I really love about it? Which I didn't even notice at first, was these, and I'm going to try and show you again, but it probably won't come out too well, is these bits of paper fluttering around, which have all these, you probably can't see at all with that ring light, all these different faces that Eddie Quist has drawn. He's just, doing little sketch work. And they are, I'm looking at them right now, they are genuinely copies of what you see on the wall of his place in the city and his place in the cabin in the woods. Fucking awesome. There is a name on this. There. It says Devon. I presume that is the artist who captured this. So Devon, I want to give you some credit as well, because that's fucking awesome. You captured a lot, pretty much everything I love about this movie. Him in particular. That is a great touch as well. Also sort of bleeding out from the full proper werewolf. Full moon, you've got all this cloudiness. You've got the slashes across there. You've got trees. This is all forest set. You've got loads of trees around here. You've got TC, I don't mean Top Cat. TC Quist with it lacking a hand. You've got the happy smiley face. It's all there. And you got... Well, the more I look at that, the more it's... Although, it's definitely... It's Karen and Bill, her husband, whose name again is also... Oh, I said before, didn't I? It's also a werewolf director's name. But looking at that's her husband, that's Bill. And yet, you don't ever see them like that. That would be more akin to being... Listen to me nitpicking, Christ almighty. Be more akin to her being with Dennis Duggan at the end for the big finale and blasting all these werewolves and getting away, or do they? She gets a bite and she's like, like, oh no, and her husband's dead on the back seat. But it's still awesome imagery, and the burning barn as well. What gets me is like Patrick Macnee as Dr. George Wagner, the director of The Wolfman. What is he a werewolf or not? Because they've got bodies there strewn in the barn, and they've got Karen White, but it's Dennis Duggan who'll come up and he'll save the day. He'll do a big standoff and drive them all into the barn. But like Marcia Chris was like, you wouldn't listen to me. None of you would listen to me. All of you, you can't tame what's meant to be wild. And they push Patrick Macnee down to his knees and they scratch him in the face. And they're like, well, aren't you one of them? Are you or aren't you a werewolf? Well, I don't think we ever find out. You can read it either way. Does he just sympathise with them? He's learned about their existence and he sympathises with them. Or is he actually one of them as well? But he is the Kelsey Grammer of lycanthropy. He is the Dr. Fraser Crane. He's written books, on the gift and all this kind of stuff. And it is great. There's a lot of clever ideas here. See, we're talking about remakes. Clever ideas which could be expanded upon. You do a remake and you do it right. You take the ideas and you go off in a slightly different direction, or you expand a bit more on those ideas. You don't do a complete and utter scene for scene, beat for beat remake, because what's the fucking point of that? And you don't go off in some stupid woke style either, because that's not the right idea. But there's enough ideas here to take the Howling, original Howling, and to do, I don't know, isn't it funny, folks? I've spent so many videos denouncing remakes and reboots and reimaginings, and yet when it comes down to it, especially with classic horror movies, any classic movie or cult movie, and yet when you think about it, you could work on the Howling a lot more. There's a lot more which could be explored properly, I don't know, I'm going on and on and on and on, but the Howling's amazing. Again, it's another great candidate for a commentary track from Kilt-Man, so that could happen. I hope it will. Look at him. That comes through your front door. What are you going to do? Other than shit yourself completely, what are you going to do? Yeah, exactly. Fuck off. It's going to have you. Eddie Quist is a-coming for you. Shit your silver bullets, my ass. Rob Picardo's amazing in this though, because he's in real life he's such a lovely guy, and but he has played two of the most frightening characters ever from the 80s, Meg Mucklebones and that bastard there. Steve, cheers mate. I don't want to say it, but I got you again. And I thought it right away. I didn't, only overnight did I think, oh shit, it could be Dog Soldiers. Oh god, it could be Company of Wolves, which, you know how much I love that movie. And I love Arbeck for that, by the way. But that is amazing. Look at it. So in future videos, you'll see this lurking around in the background. definitely over time it'll reappear again and again and again. And then maybe Howling 2 with Sybil Danning going whoosh. That'll be in the background as well. Oh, look at it. Look at it though. Get it out the Yeah, I'll turn that off for a second. Ooh. Ooh, look at that. That looks... I've gone into massive shade and shadow, but look at that. Look at the burning eye there as well. With his half melted face. Come on, bright boy. Don't you know anything? Got it? Isn't it great? Folks, I have been always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever hirsute and hungry in between time, please keep it kilted, keep it Celtic. And I am going to see you all later. We're defo going to do a commentary track again, a watch along party. I've already named a few contenders, and I know there's one film that a great many people want me to discuss properly. It will happen. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but it will happen. I promise you. And you guys know who you are, and you know what film I'm talking about. And I can't believe I haven't done it yet. But life goes on.